Now, I definitely starting, thinking from the bottom up. I mean, your employees are the most important people in your business. I can't express this enough, right? I mean, especially in my business. If my employees aren't happy, then the customers, they're not providing a good experience and our customers aren't happy. And at that point, if we don't have customers, then we don't have a business. So I always just preach that how important your employees are.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, a podcast designed for entrepreneurs and business owners looking to gain that extra edge. Today, I'm thrilled to sit down with Richard Moyer, a serial entrepreneur who's redefining the bar experience with his self-serve tap room, Hoppin. In this episode, you'll learn how Richard leverages cutting-edge technology to slash waste and boost profitability, the art of building a winning company culture, and why he believes the CEO should work for the employees. Plus, stay tuned to learn about his surprising tactics for scaling and franchising his business. Let's talk with Rich now. Hey, Rich, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How's it going today?
Yeah, life is great, man. Thanks for having me.
I love to hear that. Hey, I'd love to start out with learning a little bit more about you. What do you do professionally? And then I also love to learn about what you do, or something about you personally, maybe that the rest of the world doesn't know.
Yeah, serial entrepreneur. Honestly, I started working for myself at 25 years old, and now I currently own multiple businesses. But my main business is a self-serve, high-tech self-serve tap room called Hoppin, and we're franchising across the country. I think one thing a lot of people don't know about me is I'm colorblind. So, I wear a lot of black and gray or white. I've picked out a lot of pink things in my life thinking it was gray. So it's always some fun stories with my family and my wife.
Well, just for the record, and for those of us that can't see you, you're in gray today. So you got it right.
That's right.
And I don't have an excuse. I normally wear black and gray and I'm not colorblind. It's just a heck of a lot easier. It kind of matches with everything.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for sharing that. So I do want to talk, one thing that caught my ear that you just said is you said self-serve high tech. Talk to me about what is high tech that makes yours different from maybe other self-serve type establishments.
Yeah, in general, we're an experience company, right? So we're a bar at first glance that just has self-serve technology, but we tailor our experience completely different than any other bar or tap room, which I think that's a big differentiator for us. But our technology is, self-serve. It's high tech. It's the pour my beer technology that we utilize, and anybody can have access to it. I think what makes us a little bit different is definitely the experience, and then the ability to have access to the data that every 10th of an ounce that comes out of a tap, we have access to who poured it. And, we can start to really break down the data and analytics to see what's selling great, what's not selling, and what we can utilize across the country.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
We can start to really break down the data and analytics to see what's selling great, what's not selling, and what we can utilize across the country.
Does that, obviously, I'm assuming that must also give you great visibility in terms of profitability of the various taps that you have. Is that correct?
Yeah, ours is ever rotating. So it's very rare that anything will stay on tap at all times, like permanently. But on the flip side, yeah, our margins are a lot better than I would say other bars and restaurants, because our waste is 3 to 4%, where the national average is 23 to 24% of keg waste. And that's just from bartenders overpouring or just foam. They don't know how to pour beer. Like I said, every 10th of an ounce that comes out of our tap is calculated, and we limit our waste down to 3 or 4%.
Wow, that's interesting. It's funny, about 20 years ago, maybe it was about 15 years ago, I had a buddy and he was creating a product that would keep track of, in a bar, everything that was taken out. Like, it sounds like what is now today's technology. But back then, poor guy passed away, he had cancer, but it was his whole vision. He thought it was going to take him to the next level. And it sounds like, is this kind of standard technology now, or is it still something pretty new?
He had the idea back then. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while, right? It's evolved with any technology, and it continues to evolve. And I always kind of mention that to our tech company, and just say, man, we always got to stay on top of it, right? If you want to grow with us and we want to grow with you, we need to stay innovative and always be on top of things. But yeah, it's been around for a long time. There's three companies that actually have this technology. They're all a little bit different. They all provide a little bit different things, but it's been around since, God, if I was to guess, probably for at least 10, 15 years.
Sounds like he was right on the pioneer side of it too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it never played out for him. But you said experience several times. It's not just a bar, it's an experience. That sounds like that's your differentiator too, in terms of what you guys provide. Can you really drill down on that? Like what is the experience? Like what are you hoping people get out of visiting the bar?
Yeah. Well, you can go get a drink anywhere, right? So
Right.
what's going to drive people into our tap room? A lot of it's going to be coming from our marketing and what we do, and we create the experience in your mind before you walk into our door. But then we have to execute when you do walk in. So the biggest thing is definitely going to be the service and the customers, or the customer service that we provide, and the staff that we have. And I think that starts from the top with me, with culture and the whole brand. You got to have the right culture, because the employees are the most important part of your company. So the experience is fun when you walk in. If you walk into a traditional bar, you typically just walk in. You got to fight through people to get to the bar, and fight through people at the bar to get a drink. When you walk into Hoppin, you are greeted by one or two people. They explain the system. They check your ID, give you, swipe your credit card, provide an RFID wristband. That wristband is attached to your credit card, and you have an open tab to get any drink that's on the tap wall of 60 plus taps. So that experience when you walk in is a lot of fun. They're joking around. They're providing an experience. They're also driving you to the tap wall, and somebody at the tap wall is going to explain the entire space, how to use the system, what the tap wall is, and then help you find the drink of your choice or whatever you like to try or taste. And then we have a full cocktail bar as well. So anybody that wants just a traditional cocktail, or you can have self-serve cocktails on tap, depending on the state regulations, if it's legal. So the experience when you're here, there's the customer service side, and then the atmosphere. Right, our tagline is good vibe, beer, cocktail, and good vibes. And you'll see in our locations neon signs that say good vibes only. The interior design is completely different than any other bar. It's kind of bright, and you can see some of the stuff in my background here: lights, whites, greens, and it's just completely different. We have games, we have Scrabble board that's right next to me. We have obviously cornhole, darts, and just different things to do, board games, cards. And our staff is constantly walking around having fun with you. We're about to implement ways for customers to win gift cards while they're here. So we have a mini basketball hoop that if you make one shot, you get a gift card. If you make two, you get something else. If you make three, you get swag and a gift card. So just the experience, we're just trying to always innovate and keep it different.
Yeah, that's cool. So you mentioned culture. All business owners oftentimes are, maybe they don't dedicate enough time to it, but they're thinking about culture. And I would think with a bar, culture even becomes harder to define, because a lot of people probably aren't thinking of it like a career position.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that? How do you build culture? How do you get it so your employees care about your patrons that are having a good time?
Yeah, it comes from the top, right? So I flip the triangle upside down. Most people think the CEO is at the top. I put the CEO at the bottom. My employees work for me is what the most CEOs think, right? My employee works for me. I tell them what to do. I flip it the other way. I work for them. They tell me what to do, and they tell me what they need to be successful, and they have ownership in their position. So they feel like they can make decisions, make mistakes, and I'm not going to come down on them. I'm going to then come to them and say, all right, how do we remedy this, and how do we put a process or a system in place that this doesn't happen again if a failure happens or a mistake happens. So I think just flipping that to where I'm at the bottom and I work for them instead of them working for me. Then on the flip side, I think just having the vision of something bigger than one location. And with us franchising, there's a lot of growth opportunities, and giving that vision to the team to say, you have more opportunity if you want to grow with us. But I also want you to know you can come to me if you want to open up your own business, if you want to switch careers, like how can I help you get there? And those are the conversations I have with my team, one-on-one personal conversations once every 6 to 12 months. What are their goals? What do they want to do? And has anything changed in their life? Do they have a child coming? Do they want to buy a house? They want to get a new apartment, whatever it is. And then we discuss how we can get them there. So I think the culture comes from obviously the leader of the brand, and how you do that is truly be there for them instead of them kind of just being your employees.
Yeah. So part of what I hear, it comes from the top, is accountability for yourself. Does that accountability, do you extend that to your staff? Like, do you expect them to be at the same level of accountability in terms of what they need to do for their functions?
100%. So, my director of operations, he started for me as an assistant, and then he quickly moved up as a general manager of one of our locations. Now as our director of our operations, but he always had ownership in his position. And when he became a GM of one of the locations, he had all responsibility. So if something happened, I was going to him and we were having those conversations. Whereas if I didn't give him the freedom to make mistakes and the freedom to feel like he can make decisions, and whether if it was wrong or right, he knew that he had that freedom to make a decision. And if it worked out, great. If it didn't, then hey, it's just one learning experience. Let's move to the next thing. And they have the same responsibility in their position that I do in my position.
Yeah, I love that the part you said, hey, you make your decisions, they may be right or may be wrong. You're okay with that. It's the fact that you took the initiative and the accountability to try to move it forward. I think that gets lost sometimes. And that's what causes people sometimes not to want to take initiative, because they're afraid they're going to get slapped on the hands if they don't have a crystal ball and know which way the owner wants them to pick it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell my team, failure is your trampoline to success. If you're not failing, you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're not growing. And in life, if you stay stagnant, you're kind of not living.
Yeah. So I want to go back up to the experience one more thing. So your thing is experience. Do you think every business should be even if it's not a bar, should we be thinking about what experience are we providing to our client, customer, whatever? Is that your differentiator, or is that something that every business should be thinking about, the experience that they're giving to their customer?
I think every business in some shape or form should be thinking about it, right? And
Right.
maybe there are some businesses like, trash companies that the experience doesn't matter as much, but there is still the little things that they could do that could make the experience better. But yeah, I think overall, anybody that's customer facing should be thinking, how do I better experience, especially the world we live in now, where people can see the experience before they ever do business with you on LinkedIn or social media or some online platform.
Yeah. And to your point, even like taking out trash, it sounds silly, but being punctual. I know for us in our area, sometimes we leave boxes if they don't they can't fit into the cans. Well,
Yeah,
taking those boxes, it sounds silly, but a lot of times our guys don't take them. And it's kind
yeah,
of annoying because now you got like 10 boxes that you don't know what to do with for a week.
yeah,
So it's just things like that. That attention to detail is kind of part of the experience, you could argue.
100%.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, so I want to talk about the franchise part of this. When I think of franchises, I think, wow, another layer of complexity. You really have to have a good model and system for people to want to get involved in that. What made you decide to go down the franchise path? And what I just said, is there any truth to that? Or how do you feel about getting others involved in your entity?
Franchising is very complex. There's so many things that you have to take out of your mind and put onto paper, which you think, you've done it for, like, I had these locations 4 years before I started franchising. You think that you have it all, but you actually have to make it and implement it and create that guide and that Bible for future franchisees to be successful. So the complexity is very deep, and I learn every single day how deep it is, and for us to continue to grow. But franchising, the idea really came in 2019. So we opened our first location in 2017. We poured our first full year, 2018, we poured 3.5 million ounces of beer, wine, and drinks. So we just kind of grew really fast. And when people were coming in and they were like, man, how do I bring this to my city? And they'd always ask questions. And at that point, it was our only location. I was trying to learn the business in and out. So I was here a lot, and I always heard those questions. And I was like, man, maybe we have something bigger than just Charlotte. And the brand is really cool. The logo is really cool. And I said, well, what opportunities do I have to bring this? And it's 1.2 to almost $2 million to open one of these things. So if you're going to open one, you kind of corporately, if I wanted to grow, I really need to raise money. The other option is we can franchise, and we can move a lot quicker. We can bring our brands across the country a lot faster. And that's where 2019, I started about franchising. And I met with some franchise attorneys. We discussed it. 2020 came, obviously COVID hit, kind of put that on the back burner. 2022 is when we started back up and started franchising. And here we are today with 10 plus locations opening over the next year or two.
Wow, that's a lot of growth. And so, in your mind, is the primary reason for you as a business to franchise, is it the access to capital? It makes it a lot easier because you're kind of pushing that over to the franchisee. Of course, you got to have a really tight model for someone to want to invest in that. But is that really the big advantage, or is it just being able to grow faster too?
It's kind of twofold for me, right? Obviously, yes, the money factor, right? If I want to grow faster, then the ability to franchise, and other people use their money to open up our brand. And we have a brand that is very franchisable. It's very simple. The operations is very easy. On the flip side, I feel like I was put on this earth to be able to raise up people around me and give opportunities to people around me, or people that are in other cities, states, countries, whatever it is, and mentor and just uplift and make people better, whatever it is in life. So for me, a deeper thing is, I am now giving people opportunities that may have never wanted, have always wanted to work for themselves and didn't know what direction to go. And now they have that opportunity to franchise Hoppin. It's something that they always love to do, and have the support and the brand and the backing with us. So there's always that bigger, like, what really drives you, what gets you out of bed. Like, money just happens to come. If you do the right things, it'll just happen to come, right? Doing the right thing is always the right thing. So the deeper thing for me is definitely being able to give an opportunity to people across the country, whether it be open their first business, expand their portfolio, or be a multi-unit operator and just be our franchisee in a city.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
Or, be a multi-unit operator and just be our franchisee in a city.
Yeah. I'm curious, how did you see the opportunity, or where did you even get the idea, like, to have a self-serve type establishment? Did you see a hole in the market, or was it just like, hey, I want to test this out?
Yeah, I was actually selling my first. I was in the process of selling my first company. So at that point, I didn't really know what my next move was. I knew I was going to invest a lot in a commercial real estate, and I sold my first company for multi-millions. And a couple months before I sold it, a friend of mine at the time saw this technology in another city, and he sent me a video of it. My first response when he asked me if I wanted to invest in a bar was absolutely not. And then I saw a video of the technology, and I was like, all right, this is something different. Charlotte doesn't have it. Charlotte's a booming city. It's growing very quickly. If I can be the first to market, this could probably take off. So it was more of a gut feeling. It was something where I saw technology, and I was like, there's an opportunity. There's nothing like this in Charlotte. Let's do it different. We will be different with self-serve. And I've said from day one, we don't have to be a better bar. We have to be different. And we try and be different with everything we do.
Yeah. Okay. That's in Charlotte. I'll tell you, it seems like every time I turn Charlotte or somewhere in North Carolina, I'm hearing the name. It feels like you guys are booming.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to know.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I want to talk about, like, scaling. When you think about scaling an organization, it's pretty daunting. Anything you've learned as you're scaling your business now, any words of wisdom that you can share with business owners that are kind of going through those stages of getting to a larger business?
Yeah, it really depends on what stage you're at and where you are financially, right? When I started my first company, I was shoestringing it along the way, and I grew very rapidly. I did 1.8 million my first year, 3.6 million my second year, and 6.5 million my third year. But it was self-funded. There was no bank money. It was in the construction industry, so I was always having to call contractors and get money for, because they pay 60, 90 days out. So in that part of life, I was the one that was working 16, 18-hour days. But when I sold that, now I have an opportunity to invest in people that I know can fit the job, and they can do a lot better job than I can do. And I can be more of the visionary and the person at the top that's really thinking big picture and bigger growth. So I think it really just depends on where you're at financially and what capabilities you have to invest in other people. And there's pivotal points in business where, you kind of get to a spot where you're like, I'm not making enough money to hire that person, but I know I need to hire that person. And sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, live very simple, to invest in that. And I'm in that position right now with Hoppin, where I'm bringing on a president, and I pay myself very little in this business right now. It's just because I want everything to go back into our growth. And I'm bringing on a guy that is going to have a really large salary, but I know that's what we need as a business.
Yeah. Is there any part of you where that's a challenge to bring on someone at that level? Because you have to, as a leader, obviously even go more into the visionary role and be a little less on the tactical stuff. Is there any part of you that has to kind of think that through, or are you like, hey, I'm game in?
No, 100% in, right? I mean, I think I've been very good at realizing like when I need to hire in certain positions. And I'm not an implementer, right? To a certain point, I'm an implementer. But at some point, when you get a big enough business where you actually need somebody that's a true implementer and actually can set up the things that you need in your business to grow and set a foundation that's strong enough to handle your growth. And I believe I've been very good at knowing when those times are.
Yeah, I love something you said really resonated with me is sometimes we're at that cusp of being able to hire someone and maybe the business isn't quite big enough or we're almost there. And I think a lot of times the natural thing for business owners to do is just don't do the hire because it's too scary. You're paying too much and you feel, and then the ultimate result of that is you stagnate growth. You maybe hit a roadblock because you didn't hire that person that can help you get to the next level. That's a lot of awareness on your part. It's also kind of scary, probably too, a little bit.
100%, right? I mean, you think of the amount of money that you're investing in this one person, and hopefully you made the right hire. One, two, hopefully he brings what you are envisioning. He brings that the growth of the company is going to continue to grow because of the experience that he has or she has. In my case, it's a male. So it is very scary. It's something that you're going off your gut. You're going off of what you truly know the business needs, but there's also the understanding that it might not work out. And if it doesn't work out, you got to make a decision pretty quickly before your business really starts to struggle.
Yeah. It's interesting. Over my career, I've seen when ownership has brought in a very high level position into a small business, and I've kind of seen it be phenomenally exciting in terms of growth. And then a few times I've seen it flop big time. I'll never forget when I was in my early 20s, I worked for this company, small business, probably back then it was maybe 10 million a year. And they had brought in a very high level salesperson, a VP of sales. And she was like just exact opposite of what ownership wanted. And it would roll down to us as, at that time I was just low level staff, but every decision she'd make, they'd unwind. And so your whole life as a staff member would change because there was all this conflict. And so it really can go, it can go south. I think I've seen it go better more than I've seen it go south. So people are unpredictable, right? Even if they're high level people, you don't always know how they'll fit in to your vision.
Yeah. For us, they got to be people person. They got to fit the culture and the brand. And I think we hit the nail on the head with this one. So I'm excited when he comes on in a couple weeks.
That's awesome. Now you've exited several companies. I want to talk a little bit about exiting. How do you know when to exit for the listeners out in the audience that maybe are thinking about that? Everybody always comes to me and goes, yeah, someday I'd love to sell my business. How do you know when to exit? What are some things people should be doing in terms of thinking of getting the most out of their exit? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, a lot of it's timing, right? At least for me, right? I try and predict things in the future, especially. So when I sold my first company, it was 2016. We were going in I ended up closing February 2017. It was an election year. Felt we were on an 8 or 9 year good run of the economy. I was in construction, be a great time to sell it. There was a lot of stresses that I had. I was just working, I was making more money than I ever thought I could make, but I wasn't living. And I think that was another big reason after doing that for 3 years straight. But yeah, big, that was a big portion. And then for me, I try and predict, the future as much as I can. And hopefully my timing is right. And I sold it in February 2017, thinking, who knows what's going to happen with the election and the economy. And then, think about it now. I look at Charlotte and its continual growth, and I'm very fortunate that the guy I sold it to is continuing to grow it. And that's what you want, right? If your child turns 18 and becomes an adult, you want them to succeed. So it's like selling a company. But yeah, I think it really depends. It's different for everybody. For me, I don't fall in love with anything except for my family and my wife and my son, and everything else is for sale. And if the opportunity is there, the timing's there, I kind of look at it as, can I get this? How long will it take me to make this amount of money if this is my number, my sale number? And if I feel like it's going to put too much work and effort, then I can take that money and reinvest it into something else. I'll sell it. But it's different for everybody. And I really think that some people hold on to things too long. I have somebody I know held on to their business just a little bit too long, and they could have sold it 2 years ago for 10x what they ended up selling it for. Again, it's just timing. So it just really depends on where you're at and what you're kind of looking for.
Yeah. One of the businesses that I sold was a staffing and recruiting firm. And it was right around when 2017, when the administration was changing. And we were
Yeah.
kind of scared because we were thinking, I had a partner and we were scared that with the change, the whole world would fall apart. And we just really didn't know. And we were at an all-time highs. It's a $25 million a year company. So pretty nice sized company. And we bailed, like we took the money and ran. And it's done nothing but grow since
Yeah.
we sold it. I mean, I think it's now tech has kind of slowed down this last year and a half, but other than that, it's been nothing but grow. And honestly, I don't care. I mean, like you just take the information you have at that point and you live with your decision. And you'll kill yourself if you just like look back and go, well, what if,
We were one election too early.
yeah, exactly. It's just funny how that works out. But hey, another thing I want to know, anything, you've got a really cool entrepreneurship journey. Anything that you wish you would have known early on that maybe people can learn from that now that you didn't know back then?
True. Man, there's so much that you can talk about. This could probably be a whole nother podcast of things that you learn throughout the way. But
So true.
yeah, I would say, the biggest thing is just for me, I kind of fell into having to trust other people with the growth and how fast my first company grew. So delegating and be able to do that. I think as I've grown multiple companies now, and one of the biggest things is, we have entrepreneurs, at least me, most entrepreneurs have pretty big hearts and they care about the people that are in their business and the people that they hire. So early on, just understanding like if somebody isn't a good fit and they become a cancer in your business, it's best to get rid of them and not really give them the opportunity. Your gut's usually right. Your employees, whether if it's a partner or an employee, whatever it may be. I think that over the years I've learned that sometimes you just got to get rid of the dead weight and quickly to keep the good energy in your business and keep people from getting dragged down.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
Keep the good energy in your business and keep people from, getting dragged down.
Right. I like that. That's good stuff. That's good wisdom. Hey, so before we wrap up here, I want to just kind of summarize 3 big action items there were probably about 10 that you gave me, but 3 that really spoke to me. First is really think about the experience we're providing as an organization, as a business. What's our experience that we're providing? I think that's a huge one. Number 2, I really loved not only just that it comes from the top, which seems obvious, but I think we forget about that it really has to stop at someone. And you're saying a CEO, it stops with you. It comes from the top. But I also love think from the bottom as a CEO. So be willing to be in the trenches in terms of how you do things and how you're asking people to do and think from the bottom, which I think is really awesome. And then probably my other thing that I really loved is just if you do the right things, the money will come. And that's something even in my career, it's always been kind of a little voice in the back of my head. If you do the right thing, the money will come. And I think that is so true. So those are the 3 big ones I got. Anything that you want to add or change or edit to that?
Now, I definitely starting, thinking from the bottom up. I mean, your employees are the most important people in your business. I can't express this enough, right? I mean, especially in my business, if my employees aren't happy, then the customers, they're not providing a good experience and our customers aren't happy. And at that point, if we don't have customers, then we don't have a business. So I always just preach that how important your employees are. And again, I work for them. They don't work for me. I don't ever tell them to do anything. I ask them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, hey, your website, and I'll put this in the show notes at thinktyler.com. The website is Hoppin Brands, no G, Hoppin, like Hoppin, brands.com. I imagine if people want to go there, they can go, 1, to see where your restaurant locations are, or your bar locations are. And then 2, is there a franchising link if someone was interested?
Yep, there's a franchising link, or you can go directly to the franchise website at ownahoppin.com.
Say that one more time. It's kind of skipped out a little bit.
Ownahoppin.com.
Ownahoppin.com. Okay, cool. I'll put those both in the show notes. Is there if people want to reach out to you, anywhere else they should go, or are those the 2 best spots?
For the brand, definitely go there. For me, LinkedIn, search Rich Moyer Hoppin, I'll pop up, or Instagram, Rich_Moyer. And yeah, any questions, if anybody wants the franchise, reach out. Or if you just have general questions and if there's anything I can ever help with or mentor with, feel free to reach out.
Awesome, Rich. I really appreciate the conversation. You got a lot of wisdom, so I appreciate you sharing it on the show, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Electricast.